Hey guys, welcome back to another gaming challenge. Today I'm going to see if you can beat Halo CE with only grenades. For this challenge I decided to play on easy mode because on higher difficulties the enemies have more health, which is a self-explanatory issue, but also difficulties affect enemy behavior. So anytime you throw a grenade at an elite on higher difficulties, they dodge with the speed and agility of an anime character. So the grenade's explosion doesn't so much as tickle their buttholes. Anyway, the game begins with me hitting the skip cutscene button because just looking at Cortana's lesbian haircut is enough to make any grown man's dick and balls go into permanent hibernation. Captain Keyes hands me his loaded pistol, which he doesn't keep loaded.
I don't keep it loaded, son. You'll have to find ammo as you go.
And then I was forced to spend the next 10 minutes hiding and running from the enemy forces, since I only found grenades at the last group of enemies. Which honestly isn't an issue because the only group of Covenant that you need to kill in this entire level are the Covenant who are guarding the escape pod. Lucky for me, their barricade was made from a grenade cache, so I carpet bombed them until their bodies painted the interior of the ship, and then we got the fuck out of there. Things were going to get a little more complicated in Mission 2. There's waves of enemies, wide open spaces, and jackal cunts. You start the mission off with 4 frag grenades, so things were looking more epic than that epic view. You don't have to kill all the enemies in this section, but I wanted to get my hands on a warthog since walking across the map is dog shitty. I spent a few minutes here taking out the trash with the boys, and that's when I discovered a good tactic for killing elites in wide open spaces. All you have to do is get close enough to an elite to catch a whiff of its queef, and when he tries to hit you, just do this. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. This tactic could backfire if the space retards try to rush you, but it's far better than trying to get a lucky stick from far away. After we acquire the warthog, we have to save the marines who crash landed in those escape pods from earlier. So I drove underground, did some vehicle parkour, quickly extended the bridge while avoiding the bad guys, and made it into the final section where you have to save 3 groups of marines. Saving the marines requires you to kill wave after wave of Covenant forces, but that's so 2001. It's much faster and easier to turn Halo into a role-playing game, so Operation Kill the Marines instead of the Covenant was now a go.
They're all dead. We didn't save them.
This allows me to use far fewer of my precious grenades than I would normally have to. So I killed all of my comrades, I spared the last group so they could help me kill the Covenant, I killed them after they helped me, rescue came, and that concludes Mission 2. The main objective in Mission 3 is to board the Covenant ship and save Captain Keyes. The developers intended this level to be played stealthily, but we all know that stealth is for sissies. I had a good start to this level. My comrades and I were killing the Covenant effectively, but unfortunately, grenade-only challenges leaves you vulnerable to tunnel vision. So be fucking careful and don't play recklessly like me. Anyway, from here until the gravity lift is really simple. It's just a rinse and repeat of killing enemies and moving on. There's a lot of grenades laying around and the marines aren't completely useless. They're just barely competent. The grav lift fight is easy as ever. The hunters are pretty easy to deal with since my allies did most of the damage, and I would just throw a grenade when I wouldn't accidentally turn my comrades into bad pieces of modern art. Fighting inside the ship is easier for the most part. With the power of teamwork and dicksticks, we quickly took out any group of enemies we crossed paths with. But like any problem life presents, running away from anything was a far more effective strategy. Elites are very noble creatures and live by a code of honor. Lucky for me, I have no honor, so whenever they would do their battle cry or whatever it was, I would just stick them before they had a chance to react. This made the sword elites one of the easiest enemies to deal with. Even the section where you have to escort Keyes is way too easy. I just took out the elites while the marines killed the grunts, and before we knew it, we were all aboard the ship, turning the hunters into toothpaste. So far, I've been playing through the challenge in old graphics because it makes finding the grenades 100 times easier, but man, the old graphics just can't compete with the new ones in this level. It's like when you go dumpster diving to find a nice meal to eat, but instead you find a crack whore giving birth in a pile of rotten food, used condoms, and hungover homeless people. This mission is a big race to activate the Cartographer, and because of that, I leave my comrades to take care of all the Covenant on the beach, while I quickly haul this big green dumpster truck of an ass to the room where I can unlock a door, which isn't currently locked, but since it has a 100% probability of being locked, I head here immediately to avoid the headache. In this whole section, I use my unparalleled superhuman speed to run past every alien in the blink of an eye, avoiding the elites, grunts, hunters, and jackals until I reach the unlocking room. I ran past the enemies in this room, made my way to the other facility where I unlocked the door, and did the same thing. Ran past everything until I reached the Cartographer. I'm pretty sure the only enemies I killed in this whole level were these two elites, so to wrap it up, I pressed something to activate another thing, I ran back to the surface, I hopped in the Pelican, and beat the 4th level. The 5th mission is usually one of, if not the longest mission in the game. However, I used the cliff fall speeding run strat to get through the mission within 10 minutes. If you don't know what the strategy is, it basically despawns all of the enemies in the level and makes it so much faster to get through it all. So yeah, I skipped the cutscene again because of gross lesbian characteristics, and that concludes Assault on the Control Room. Killing, running, and hiding from the flood is the main appeal of Mission 6. Once again, we have to save Captain Keyes, but anyone who plays this mission is really only here to save Sergeant Avery Johnson. So right off the bat, there's plenty of specimen who are ready, willing, and able to be guinea pigs for my grenade-only challenge. But unfortunately, I was going to have to save every grenade I could for the real horrors that were lurking in this facility. So I ran by every group of Covenant I came into contact with. As I ventured deeper and deeper into the facility, the more my urethra unleashed piss into my clean Spartan trousers out of fear. It didn't help when I started hearing creepy sounds, and then Gregory over here tried to sneak attack me. "You little bitch, no one can sneak up on the Master Chief." Gregory released some of the tension that I was feeling, and I decided to watch Jenkins's vlog to calm my nerves even further. He recorded the video in 144p, so I was pissed off. But that's when the demon sperm broke free of their imprisonment and tried to rub their spermy hands all over my beautiful manly chest. You can't leave the room until all the sperms die, but luckily when they attack you, they also kill themselves. So I waited for them to do so, and then I ran away from the first zombie aliens who tried to molest me. It's a little harder to kill the flood than any other enemies with grenades since they constantly run towards you, so I spent most of my time running, hiding, and getting lost because this level never fails to make me feel lost due to its maze-like architecture. I descended further into the depths of hell, ran from even more flood, and then finally rode the elevator up to chill out with the boys. At this point, it was every man for himself, so I left everyone behind while I ran for the end of the level. Guilty Spark introduces himself to me, we teleport, and that concludes Mission 6. Everyone knows about the repetitive but exhilarating nature of Mission 7 in Halo CE. Due to the fact that I'm outnumbered a big boy number to 1, I only fought when absolutely necessary. Like when I had to defend my position while the monitor went off and did whatever monitors do inside the walls. The testicle sack flood were really handy at helping me thin out my pursuers, but they could be a real pain in the augmented ass in these tiny corridors. I mainly used grenades on rocket flood because if you don't, you have a 10 billion% chance of getting absolutely butt-fucked. Also, every time you need to defend your position, there's some spots you can hide in so the enemies never see you, which drastically reduces the difficulty of these encounters. However, there was one defense part where I had to face my enemies. Luckily, I read Sun Tzu's The Art of War front to back before I dived into this specific mission, so I would have the best chance at surviving. Apparently, a big part of warfare is deception, so I tricked my enemies by convincing them I was a pacifist. The soldier still wasn't totally convinced when I told him that I'm a pacifist, so I told him that assault was against the law, and then he finally left me alone. Anyways, there was another few minutes of riding elevators, running through identical hallways and passageways, until eventually we reached the end of the level. Even on easy mode, this part was as unpleasant as getting the girl toy in a McDonald's Happy Meal. I didn't make it very far out the door, but the second time around, I cleared out the flood with my nades, and then I retrieved the activation index, or whatever the fuck it's called. Guilty Spark teleports me, and now we're starting mission 8. The main objective in this mission is to not be killed by everything that tries to kill me. Because I'm absolutely retarded, I spent 10 minutes here trying to kill these sentinels, which seemed like an impossible task, and I was thinking this is where I failed the challenge, but then I realized that you can just open the door whether or not the sentinels are alive. After escaping the room, it's just a matter of destroying the 3 pulse generators, so I ran past everything until I hopped in the Banshee, and I had already destroyed the first generator in a matter of seconds. This level is full of enemies, but for the most part, they were too focused on each other to care about me. The bridges are one of the toughest things in this level, but even they were pretty easy to deal with. I got through the first bridge with a couple scratches, and I ran through a few more rooms of enemies until I reached the second bridge. Even though this is on easy, I still died twice on this bridge, and that just goes to show you how difficult this bridge section is. Anyways, I got outside, I grabbed the ghost, I drove past everyone, I resupplied, I grabbed the Banshee, I fixed my vehicle field of view so I could actually see, I got enraged at this piece of shit Banshee pilot who wouldn't fuck off, I destroyed the second generator, which actually wasn't too hard. All it cost me was 2 nades, but I could easily restock. And then I got to the underground bridge, which was a real walk in the park for me, since I'm a gamer god and I'm playing on easy. I was being chased by a big group of flood, so I took out most of them, and to save grenades and health, I made it through the door and gave them the slip. The rest of the mission is pretty simple. I drove to the Banshees, I got in the driver's seat, I destroyed the 3rd generator, and teleported to mission 9. I spent the first half of this mission running past the enemies and grabbing grenades until I reached the gravity lift where I safely boarded the Covenant ship. Once inside, it's hard to run past enemies since the hallways are so narrow, but it also makes it easier to kill everything, and they always seem to drop grenades. This level kept me on my toes, but it's the shortest level in the game, so the adrenaline rush was short-lived. The hardest part of the mission is the hall before finding keys, but I only died once here. Since Captain Keyes likes to keep things unloaded, I unloaded his brain from his body, and I also unloaded his neural implant from the back of his non-existent head. I ran back the way I came, I took a shortcut down to the hangar, slipped into the Banshee while getting a face full of elite vag, and then I got the fuck off the ship. And then I immediately board another ship, but it's a human ship, so it's cooler than stinky poo-poo alien ships. Since I started off with a low amount of grenades, I wait for the sentinels and flood to duke it out so I could stock up on grenades. Everything from here until the bridge was easy enough to avoid. The Spec Ops Elite was even nice enough to drop like 5 grenades, which was a very generous gesture indeed. Thanks, pal. Once again, I skipped the cutscene to avoid becoming infertile, and then I made my way to the engine room to blow up the engines. The way there was crawling with lots of guys who desperately wanted to high-five me, so I blew us all to hell. I forced my way through the hallway of death, grabbed a power-up like I'm fucking Mario over here, made my way to the armory, but immediately turned around and made my way to the engine room because there were no grenades in the armory. The only thing I found there was a fuckton of useless rocket launchers. I broke the first engine, destroyed the second one, obliterated the third engine, and then I tore the ship a brand new asshole when I absolutely fucked the fourth engine. And after all that, I fell down the elevator shaft and died. The second time around, I failed to kill all the enemies in the elevator, but luckily the elevator killed them for me. The rest of the level is pretty straightforward. I jumped in the warthog, I drove from here until the end of the warthog run, while avoiding killing anything with my vehicle, including the little infection forms. For the first time in my life, I made the jump without getting thrown from the vehicle. I ditched it early to avoid roadkills, I jumped on the longsword, and I beat the game. So was I able to beat Halo CE with only grenades? Surprisingly, heck yeah. Like, we lost some friends along the way, but it's all in the name of science, so it was worth it. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.